I love this activity so much that I'll run with anyone.
Anyone, literally.
Anyone.
You've just proven it.
You know, you don't really know who you are or what you are until you put a really big challenge in front of you.
Fear is an asset and ally here to help you be magnificent.
This crazy, silly, stupid idea to run across the Sahara Desert.
You did make it this time, but you said if you didn't make it, you would try again and again.
Everybody's connected to nature, connected to music, to their families, and now we're going to build a world that doesn't have racism and war and starving kids.
I kept telling myself, run at me, and just keep smiling.
All right, well, we're rolling. Michael, thank you very much for running with me this morning.
Absolutely.
All right, so first, to give a sense of the people who are walking and running along with us, could you please, actually, this is the first in-person podcast that I've recorded in 2020. I'm so fired up for this. And it's also my first time running in Central Park in 2020. Last time I was running over here was the marathon. So can you describe for people who are hopefully running or walking along with us right now where we are?
Yeah, sure. Oh, good morning. It is a nice sunny morning, probably about 70, high 70s going up to the low 90s a day, so we're getting it in early. But we just left Engineers Gate. We're headed north on the Brattle Path, and we are going to do a little venture in the North Woods today.
Nice. We got the reservoir off to the left of us. Beautiful morning, not a cloud in the sky. Running in the shade on the Brattle Path, which is nice. And I'm really excited. So thanks very much for coming out. I've been wanting to record this interview with you for a while. I know we made plans a couple times, like in 2019, and then COVID happened.
Yep. So
I've been doing all my podcasts on Zoom. This is my first in-person real running podcast of 2020. Very excited, and really couldn't ask for someone better to do it with than you, because you were really at the center of all things running and purpose in New York City.
Well, thanks. So a little over exaggeration, but I'll take it. Thanks.
So let's just maybe, can you introduce yourself for the people, let them know who you are and why I said that.
Yeah, no worries. So first, again, thanks for the over exaggeration. I'm Michael Rodgers. I'm the Vice President for Youth and Community Runner Engagement at NYRR Roadrunners, and I get to do a lot of fun stuff. And it's my job, which not many people can say they love going to work every day, but I do. Our mission at NYRR Roadrunners is to help and inspire people through running, and that's what I get to do. I run a myriad of programs at Roadrunners with an awesome team who we get to go out and get people moving, whether it's kids, whether it's adults, whether it's seniors. We do it through active programming. We do it through raising money to help support that programming. We do a lot of fun stuff, but at the end of the day, it all comes down to helping inspiring people through running.
And how long have you been with the Roadrunners?
So I joined NYRR Roadrunners in April of 2013, so just over 7 years. And I've been running in the community here since 2004.
Are you from New York?
I'm not. I'm originally from Pennsylvania.
Oh,
and
nice. What part?
Chester County. So I grew up there, and I started running when I was 11.
Is that?
Yeah, I started running when I was 11 and started on an indoor track and transitioned very quickly from being a big soccer player to running.
Okay.
Indoor that first year, then outdoor, then cross country, and I was a kid who struggled in school a lot with reading and just had a learning disability. My mom used running as a carrot. It was a good one. I like carrots still today.
It was always the stick for me.
No, it's amazing. It's amazing. So for me, she said, if you want to run, you've got to get good grades. So that's what I did. I went from a kid with a learning disability who was struggling in school. By the time I was a senior, I was a 4-time MVP of my cross-country team, state finalist on the track in 800 meters, male athlete of the year for my senior class, first person in my family to go to college and graduate. But I went on an academic scholarship, not a running scholarship. So
where'd you go to school?
I went to Elon in North Carolina.
Yeah.
So when people see me,
crossword puzzle clue.
Exactly.
My wife is and my dad are big crossword puzzlers.
4-letter North Carolina University.
4-letter, no, I always say Duke, and
everyone says
it's Elon.
Duke. It's Elon. Exactly. But for me, when people wonder why I get so passionate about running, it's because of the doors it's opened up, the focus it's provided in my life. And now I get to go to work and help pay that forward to other people.
That's amazing. So you were telling me that you run 5 programs for the New York Road Runners.
Yeah.
Can you just give us a brief overview of that? Maybe we'll kind of dive into some of them.
Yeah, well, for the audience here, I think many of you will know and recognize those amazing green shirts. We call them TFK Green.
Team for Kids.
For Team for Kids. We are the adult running group that helps raise money for our youth programs at New York Road Runners. In a good year, unlike this year in COVID, we would have about 15 races where we can get guaranteed entry for whatever it may be, whether it's the TCS New York City Marathon, one of our 5-borough series races, the Abbott World Marathon Majors. We have a lot of different events that we can offer guaranteed entry for those people who are willing to raise money to support our youth programs. That is where I love to say we work with adults, because a lot of people are first timers. People see the marathon and they want to do it.
Yep.
But they're scared, they're not sure how to do it. And so some people come to us, if you will, just for the entry.
Right.
But when they see the camaraderie, the support, the coaching, everything that we offer to help get people motivated, we really have this amazing alumni family that has built around Team for Kids, and it's awesome.
And so that's adults who are saying, sign me up for this race, I'm willing to do some fundraising to help get into it, and the money's going to the youth program.
Correct. So
to get kids running.
Correct. So New York Road Runners, our large flagship running program, it's called Rising New York Road Runners.
Yep.
A little leaf blower here in the park. Live action. Rising New York Road Runners is our signature program where we get hundreds of thousands of kids moving and running and having fun. And notice I started with moving.
Yep.
Because for us, it's all about physical literacy.
Okay.
Which is giving kids the skills, the motivation, and the desire to be physically active for life. Sure, we all love running, but it's not just running that we do.
Right.
You know? You have to have all different types of skills, whether you're doing lateral movements, object transfer, throwing. It's all part of understanding your body and making sure that we don't, what a lot of people do is over-specialize at an early age.
Yep.
Because you'll see a lot of people who, quite candidly, burn out.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not what we want. We want people to come into the sport and enjoy it. And if it's not running, if it's soccer, if it's field hockey, if it's swimming, to be moving for life. And that's what our program's really built on. And when the adults who are raising money for us hear that, but more importantly, when they go to schools and they see the kids participating in our activities, they're like, I get it.
Right.
I get it. So in New York, we had over 800 schools, over 1,300 schools nationally. So it's not just here in New York City. Although the name of the program is Rising New York Road Runners.
Yeah.
It is a national program.
So that's interesting. Before we kind of go into some of the other things that you do, which are, by the way,
we're in the North Woods at the moment.
We're in the North Woods of Central, which I've heard of, because kind of like you said, like giving people a variety of things. Whenever I come here, and I used to run here all the time, I would just run the loop. I never ventured back here. This is spectacular.
Well, you may not say spectacular in about a minute when we're going up the hill, but it is spectacular.
But it's almost like we're
there.
Not trail running necessarily, but we're in the woods. There's a waterfall.
Stairs.
Tripping on the stairs. Going up a hill now, so I might be breathing hard. I'm going to turn it over to you to let you talk.
Yeah, no, it's great. We're going to go off to the right up this hill here. But this, I will give a shout out to as much as I love my job and Team for Kids, really the group in New York City that's got me going all these years was the New York Harriers.
Really?
So I'm a member of the New York Harriers.
Great organization.
Yeah, this is part of our Sunday morning long run.
Huh?
We would start down at Tavern on the Green and run part of this loop. That's how I got to know the North Woods.
It's nice up here.
It's amazing. As a kid who grew up in Pennsylvania, running trails, this is as close as I can get right now.
Yeah. I love to go trail running up in New Paltz.
Yeah.
That's where my wife and I go. Whew.
We're up.
We're up. So, what are some of the programs that the New York Road Runners Youth Program does?
Yeah.
To get kids moving.
So I was just talking about rising. Let me tell you a little bit about Run for the Future. And this is like a really hard time of year for me because of COVID. We don't have the program this year. But this is the time of year where, for those who live or run near Central Park, you may be seeing groups of young women in the park training early morning and early evening. Run for the Future is a program where we take young girls who are entering their senior year of high school. These are girls who do not run, who are not involved in physical activity, but want to be. They just need that extra push. So our hook, if you will, is a $2,000 scholarship.
Oh, wow.
So we do great outreach and recruitment efforts. We get these young women to come in and we give them everything they need to be successful. We have a great coaching staff, which is primarily female, to show them strong women who are runners. We have some men like myself who are involved in the program and very supportive allies.
Yep.
But then we give them a Metro card to go to and from Central Park every day. We give them running shoes. We give them running clothes. If they're Muslim, we'll give them a running hijab so they can run and still stay covered. At the end of every practice, they get a meal. And we all know you should have that protein 30 minutes after working out. Most adults don't do it, but as we're in the practice of trying to instill good habits, that's what we want to do. But it's also about understanding, as I said, the strong female coaches that we have. We have great corporate support for this program. So the women from different companies come and talk to the young women. Tell them what it's like to go to college. Tell them what it's like to have a job and work and balance running with work and their family life. And what we want these young women to know is that running is something they always have. Even when they're at college and they're stressed out, or even in their senior year, and they are at home, they can go out to the local neighborhood park and run. And we've had just over 500 girls go through the program.
Wow.
And over $800,000 given in scholarships.
Wow.
So it's pretty amazing.
So where do these girls come from that they need that running isn't otherwise accessible to them?
Well, they come from New York City. You'd be amazed the number of people, unfortunately, in this city who don't move, don't run, and we do outreach to schools, we do outreach to guidance counselors, and we get them to go to college fairs because they're looking for scholarships. So that's our hook, as I said. So for us, you have to be from the 5 boroughs in New York City to be part of the program, and they apply just like we're going to college. They have to get letters of recommendation. So we do that, and we have hundreds of girls who apply. And we only take just over 100 girls each year.
Wow. How many girls apply?
Last year we had over 300.
Wow.
So, yeah.
So,
we're running, we just crossed over
Harlem Hill.
Harlem Hill.
Top of Harlem Hill.
Yeah, that was part of Harlem Hill. We're now headed up to the Great Hill.
The what hill?
The Great Hill.
Oh. I don't think I know the Great Hill.
You may recognize it when you get there.
Is that where the castle thing is?
Nope, that one's behind us. So,
but
yeah.
what does that mean that... So one of the things that I love about running is that you just need a pair of shoes and some road in front of you.
Yes and no. Because how many people can go and get a pair of shoes?
That's
Everybody.
true. Right.
As I said, when we were
point.
talking about physical literacy, part of it is giving people the motivation, desire, good morning, and the know-how, because it's about making sure people feel comfortable. And for some of the young women we work with and Run for the Future, that's a challenge. Do they feel comfortable going out in their neighborhood and running?
Right.
Do they know how to run properly?
Right.
And so part of what we do with the program is teach them. But it's not just about the movement again. It's also about nutrition. When do you eat? What types of foods to eat? And making healthy choices with your food.
But
and how that's going to help fuel your running.
Right.
And so for us, yeah, all you need is that pair of shoes, but you do need that guidance, that coaching, that motivation.
The camaraderie.
And that's where in this program, the all women's camaraderie, that's what the young women tell us about all the time.
Did you have that when you started running?
I did, actually, which is great. For me, I started running on the team at school in grade 7. All the way through grade 12, I had that group of people. It was a group of guys who we ran together every day after school. We all had our own separate groups of friends.
Yeah.
But for us, running was our common spot. So when I graduated high school and I went off to college, like I said, I didn't get recruited. I walked onto the team. I was running cross, and I was running the 2-3 position on the team. But it was like, it wasn't fun. I'm not afraid to do hard work. I can do workouts. I can do doubles. Still do them today occasionally, but I love running and being with people and that camaraderie. I just didn't have that on my team.
Right.
So I stopped racing.
Yep.
I kept running, I was still moving, but I stopped racing. So when I mentioned the Harriers earlier, when I got to New York and started trying to figure out the running scene here, that's what I found at the New York Harriers. And it's been over 10 years I've been running with the group. Some of my best friends I met through that. And even talking about COVID, you know, a group of us would do in the beginning, you know, a happy hour. Get the team together, get the friends together, because that's that camaraderie.
Yep.
And if you are a young woman who may live in an underserved community here in New York City, where it's more about the looks, it's more about what you're wearing, what your hair looks like,
right,
and understanding the challenges that young black women face with their hair, like, no, you don't want to go get running and sweating.
Right.
That's not what looks good. So
I know, there's a number on my hair too.
So it's about breaking those barriers down and letting the young women know that they can be active and healthy in a way that is good for them, builds their self-esteem. We can move on. I can talk about Run for the Future forever.
Well, what you're saying is resonating with me a lot, because for me, what I like about running is the camaraderie.
Right.
And I find that when I don't have that, I fall out.
Right.
So yeah, I could kind of argue with myself in what I said earlier about, oh, you need shoes in a road. But when I don't have a friend to meet up in the morning, it's so easy for me to just roll over and go back to bed.
Right. Well,
and
go ahead.
That's why I like to do these podcasts on a run, because I get to meet people, I make friends with people. Like the camaraderie that you get when you're running with somebody is really special.
Right. And so we talked a little bit about the younger kids. We didn't talk about the older folks. And that's our seniors. You know, this city can be a lonely place.
Mm-hmm.
There's millions of
especially
people.
now.
Exactly. There's millions of people out here in the city. And unfortunately, sometimes our seniors in the community are often forgotten about or neglected. And through New York Roadrunner Striders program, we're able to help these seniors get moving. We partner with senior centers across the 5 boroughs, and at pre-COVID times, we had 38 walking groups every week. Wow. Every week. And some of them are in parks, some of them start at the local senior center and just do walks around the neighborhood. We have a group of, say, 14 coaches. We're all certified coaches, but they're also seniors. And that peer engagement and encouragement is amazing. And they miss seeing each other now because of COVID. And obviously the seniors are a vulnerable population. So we've got our coaches calling and checking in on everybody who's part of the program. We also have our coaches doing videos. We have our Striders at Home program, where the seniors can go online and do workouts in their home. So we can't be in person doing them, but
what kind of workouts?
What's that?
What kind of workouts?
Yeah, so some of them are chair exercises, some of them are stretching, some of them are focused on balance. We have Coach Calvin. We have Kicking with Calvin. So it's a variety of different things. Every day, 10 a.m., we're live for people to check us out.
That's awesome. Where do I go to check it out?
So on our Striders Facebook page, you check it out. You'll see the link there. We do them on Zoom, but we also have a YouTube channel under New York Roadrunners. So a lot of the workouts are logged there. And one of the things for us is, you know, it is a full spectrum. We talked about the younger kids and rising New York Roadrunners.
Yep.
We go up a little bit in age. Specialized group. We've got Run for the Future. We talked about adults like you and I.
Yep.
Who can run a team for kids.
Thank you for considering me an adult.
But then you also have our senior community. So literally, you know, with the area I work in Roadrunners, it is really all about the community. Don't get me wrong.
Yep.
I miss our races.
Yep.
I miss being in the park every weekend, every other weekend, seeing people, high-fiving people at the finish line. But for me, it is that work that we do day in and day out, where we're helping and inspiring people through running and movement. That gets me going.
Are there any stories that come to mind?
Yeah. All kinds of stories. You know, I'll start with the seniors and go backwards. There's a woman who came to one of our walking events in Central Park last year. She lives deep in Brooklyn. She came to one of the walks. It was the lower loop of Central Park. And at the end, she was just happy. And we couldn't figure out, it was just that she had participated or what it was that made this woman so happy. Turns out she lived in New York City for over 50 years. And that was the first day she had been to Central Park.
Wow. What?
So, talking about expanding horizons.
Yeah.
There you go. That's the seniors. I'll go to Team for Kids. We've got a member who came to run with us in 2012. And he raised the money. Unfortunately, the marathon didn't happen in 2012.
Right, I remember that.
But he came back. But he's a really big guy. Probably about 6'4", good 300 pounds.
Wow.
He used to be a football player, and he was scared. He was scared that we were going to tell him, go home. You're not ready. You can't do this.
Huh.
But we didn't. Our team of coaches and that Team for Kids community embraced him. He ran the marathon in 13. Had some injuries along the way, but happy to say, I guess it would have been 2018. I was in Boston and gave him his 6-star Abbott World Marathon Majors medal.
Wow. He did 6 in a year? Oh.
This is over time.
Oh, okay.
But he did all the majors, and he is one of our biggest advocates for Team for Kids because he understands what it did for him as an adult, but it's also about what the money he's raising is doing for the kids in the community. Then there's a young woman named Saida. Saida is part of Run for the Future, and she has some extra weight on her, but she did the program and loved it. Generally, historically rather, the girls would run the Percy Sutton Harlem 5K as their culminating event.
Yep.
2 nights before that, we have a dinner for them. And Saida got up and she gave a speech to thank everyone for the program. She talked about the feeling she had when she ran that first mile, and it took her 18 minutes. She said she couldn't run rather, more than 30 seconds without having to walk. During the practice 5K, she was the last one to finish, but she remarked how she felt. And she was happy about being last and being slow. And she was happy because her teammates were there, her college mentors were there, her coaches, and even random people that she didn't know who were on the sidelines cheering her along.
Wow.
And she said, that made me feel and realize that I am a runner.
Yep.
And that's what Run for the Future did for her. Huh. Last one I'll share is a young guy who went to school out of IST 23 in Brooklyn. And Coach John up there, he's amazing. There's this guy who, he was an immigrant. I think I met him probably, he was in 7th grade first. And we went out to run with him for Global Running Day, the school. We were running in the neighborhood. And these guys were making me work.
Yeah.
And I was like, all right. I'm in my late 30s at that point, and I'm like trying to keep up. And these guys are like, we're gonna beat you someday. And I'm like, that's okay. I'm good at that. But this guy, he moved on into high school, but he was a role model for that team. Even when he was there, everyone looked up to him. When he had moved on to high school, he went back to his high school. I mean, to his middle school.
Oh, wow.
Still run with those guys. And everyone looked up to him. He ran in college, and I'll never forget. Ran in high school. And I'll never forget, I want to say it was the NYC half of 2017, maybe 2018, where yes, indeed, I'm running and he runs right by me. The little guy was flying, and indeed, he did beat me that day. But he's gone off to Fordham University this year.
Oh wow, does he still come out and run?
He still runs.
That's awesome.
And that's what we get to do. There's so many stories, whether it's the kids from Rising, Run for the Future, the Adults and Team for Kids, or the seniors. You know, the one group that I get to work with that I haven't mentioned yet is our youth ambassadors. This is a great program, and we're about to have our virtual graduation of the program this year, next week. Actually, it's tomorrow. This is a group of kids who we take and we work with, and we give them public speaking classes, speech writing classes, and it's a way, I like to think of it as like a leadership program. And these are all kids who are part of Rising New York Roadrunners, whether it's a school-based program, community-based program, or they come and run in the events that we have in Central Park for kids. And so these kids have these experiences that they get to share with the world. They go, like, when we go to City Hall, they'll go down and testify at City Hall hearings, talking about the excitement and the good experiences they've had being part of Rising New York Roadrunners.
That's awesome.
They'll speak at fundraising events, at donor meetings. These kids really are like inspiring. Some of them are younger, say 8 or 9, but when you get those older kids who, we had one guy last year, he was amazing. And he just can speak so eloquently about what running does in his life and how being part of New York Roadrunners has helped him and prepare him for college even. So it's amazing. And again, this is what I get to do for work. It's awesome.
Is there something, I'm sure there is, what is it that you think it is about running that holds that special quality to it?
I mean, for me, I'll say running is great because while we talked about the camaraderie, it is also at times a cleansing, personal, introspective thing. Mm-hmm. There are times I love running by myself. I much prefer to run with someone or a group.
Yep.
But there are days where I just need to go out and run by myself and for myself. I remember back, one of those days was in January 2019. Unfortunately, my father passed, and a very strange relationship, but at the end of the day, it's still my dad.
Yeah.
And so for me, I went out and ran. It was a rainy day. I was in the office. I was just struggling. And I canceled a meeting or two, and I said, I'll be back. And I came to the park in the rain and hammered 10 miles.
Whew. I love a rain run.
And for me, that 10 miles was so cleansing in so many ways. It was just what I needed. It was also a way for me to be with myself. So running, yeah, the power of running is great. Whether it's that personal self-cleansing, that group camaraderie,
yep,
or even better, when you do what we get to do for work, raise money.
Yep.
There's so many different causes, whether it's running, whether it's cancer, whether it's education, the environment, the power of running, and especially for the people who don't do it, they're amazed. But I always tell people, you can do it. It's just training. One foot in front of the other.
Yep.
Just like if it was Saida, you gotta walk, you can walk. I tell people all the time, I used to know the exact number, but I lost count. I've run 27 marathons, and I've walked in all, but maybe 4 or 5 of them.
Wow.
And that's okay. You know why? Because because I got to the finish line.
You finished. You got to the start line.
Exactly. And so it's not about walking or running or not doing one or the other. It's about movement and fitness. And that's what running is for me.
Wow. So, I mean, the next, perhaps obvious question is, how has COVID impacted any of these programs?
Yeah. So I mentioned the Striders program. So unfortunately, especially given we work with seniors and they're such a vulnerable population, we did pivot and took it to Striders at Home. So that's online now. Our Rising New York Roadrunners program has pivoted as well. We now have Active at Home.
Okay.
So you can see that at NYRR.org as well. So the free programming for kids. And what's great about that is it's expanded so that you don't have to have Rising at your school, but rather your parents can sign you up and get you to participate as well.
Right.
Our Run for the Future program, I mentioned that it was canceled for this summer, but what we are doing is we are starting an alumni program. As I mentioned, we have over 500 young women who've been through the program, and so we're working to engage them and get them back into running for those who aren't still doing it.
Yep.
But also provide that positive female camaraderie. And that's how we're doing that. Team for Kids, we went to a virtual platform as well. So our alumni are engaged. We have a Workout Wednesday.
Yep.
Where our coaches are doing workouts, where people are doing that. Our ambassadors, we even trained a new class of ambassadors. As I said, they have their graduation tomorrow, and I'm really excited to hear them, albeit over Zoom, but you know, they're doing it. And so they're going to be starting a blog for youth and sharing their experiences coming up. So it's all good. We are moving, and then that's on the youth and community side. But from the race side of things with New York Roadrunners, obviously almost all of our races were canceled this year.
Right.
We only had 4 or 5 in the beginning of the year. But we moved, and with our through our partnership with Volvo and Strava, we have the ability to have these great virtual races.
So you're getting more people now?
More.
Through digital?
Yeah, you know, I don't know those numbers. It's obviously a different department, but I can tell you, we launched a race about 10 days ago. And I haven't looked at the numbers over the weekend, but we launched a race 10 days ago. And in 4 days, we had 2,000 people signed up for it from 40 states around the country and 76 countries. And quite candidly, that was doing almost no promotion.
Wow.
The marketing engine just got kicked up on that. So, you know, a lot of our virtual events are free, and it's just a way to put something on the calendar for people so that they can move and run and still, you know, see where you place.
Right.
What I like about the virtual events personally is if you run it and you don't like your time,
you can do it again.
You can do it again and again. So that's what I think is pretty cool, is that you have that ability to, you know, keep moving.
How do they, this is a total aside, but how do they make a level playing field with the different places that people are running?
Yeah. I mean, obviously, if it's a 5K,
right,
you can try to line up if you want to win. And what do you win? You win pride.
Right. Right.
Find a downhill 5K.
Right.
But, you know, for I think most runners, there's very few of us who are at the front.
Right.
Who have the ability to win the race.
Yep.
So for most people...
Speak for yourself, Mike.
For most people, it's really about just being out there, maybe having a group of friends that you run with, and see when you place against them. So, you know, for the most part, obviously it's all done through Strava and GPS, but it's about having fun and moving.
Have you learned anything new about running since COVID? Have you seen anything new?
I think for me, we were talking a little bit about this, it is that personal motivation. You know, before we started taping here, I told you that I was meant to do, side note, for those who are wondering why we're breathing heavy, we're almost at the end of our run, and we're running up Cat Hill. So that's where we are.
If you know Central Park, you know Cat Hill.
There you go. So for me, what I learned is even me as an adult, I need that kick in the pants every now and then. I was meant to do Ironman Lake Placid this year. It's been 5 years since I did a full Ironman, and I was ready to go. My husband and I are in the adoption process, and he was like, look, we're about to have a kid.
Once you have your kid, it's all over.
Exactly. So sign up and get the race done. So I started training this year. COVID hit, and I kept training all the way until they postponed the race and ultimately canceled it. But I'm human, and I fell off. Quite candidly, I started having bigger dinners, maybe 1 or 2 more glasses of wine with dinner. But I needed that motivation and that kick myself. So I just, one day after a run, was trying to figure out what I wanted to do for my birthday. So when I turned 35, I ran 35 races in a year and raised money for charity. When I turned 40, the day of my 40th, I did an Ironman and raised money for Team for Kids. And I'm like, all right, I'm 45. What am I gonna do? So for me, I decided I'm gonna do 45 minutes of fitness for 45 days.
Yep.
Doesn't matter if it's running like we are today, cycling, swimming, yoga. It's about being active and being fit. And
moving.
And there are some days that I'm just not feeling it.
Right.
But
so what do you do on those days?
Honestly, I bike. Biking's such a relaxing day for me. I fortunately live in East Harlem, so I'm not too far from Central Park, and I can come and bike around the park a couple times and get my minutes in. You know, and even today, it's like, I thought I was going to be running later. I didn't realize we were going to be running and talking. But this is perfect because we've done some of my favorite parts of Central Park, particularly the Northwoods.
Yeah, I love that.
And here we are coming up, approaching 45 minutes on our run. And it's,
pretty much, just about.
Yeah. And that's the thing, is like, you know, even at work sometimes we do that. We'll have running meetings.
Lucky.
So for me, that's what I learned, is that it's never over. Just because your race gets canceled for what you were looking for, you gotta like find the silver lining. And if there's none there, create one.
Right.
And that's kind of what I did with my birthday.
I like it. You know, it's kind of like the race was just like a carrot, like that got you to do it, but it wasn't about the race.
Correct.
At least entirely.
Correct.
It was about your health, camaraderie, community. And you don't need a race for that.
Correct. If you need something, put something on the calendar yourself and create it, whatever it may be.
So, as we're wrapping up here, what final calls, maybe not final, what calls to action do you have for the people running or walking with us right now?
I would say move, as you just said. If it's running, it's biking, swimming, yoga. You're injured, maybe a lot of people do yoga. Some people do it without being injured, but for me, I love running. Running in many ways saved my life, opened a lot of doors for me. And like when I go to schools and talk to kids sometimes, you know, I'll show them some of my race medals and they'll look at me and say, "Did you go to the Olympics?" And no, I was never an Olympian. I was never an All-American. I'm just a runner.
You did go to Elon.
I did go to Elon. But I'm just a runner. And I love it. I love the way it makes me feel. I love what I'm able to accomplish through running, whether it's my job, helping, inspiring other people, whether it's raising money. Like, that's what running does for me.
Yep.
And I'm grateful for it. And, you know, it's an amazing thing.
All right, well, Michael, as we kind of take the home stretch here, I just want to thank you very much for taking the time to run with me.
Yeah.
Share all of this with all of us. I know my first running podcast back, I might be breathing a little heavier than normal.
All good, you're out here. And that's what I say. You know, I tell people all the time, let's go for a run. Like, oh, you're faster than me. Oh, I can't keep up. No. I love this activity so much that I'll run with anyone.
Anyone, literally.
Anyone.
You've just proven it.
If we're running 10-minute miles, so be it. If we're running
That's generous.
12-minute miles, so be it. There are times where I'm the one who's like asking those hard questions before you go up a hill.
Yeah.
To get the other person to start talking to slow down.
Yep.
But, you know, I'm really fortunate to be alive, to be able to keep running, keep moving, and work at a place like New York Road Runners. As I've said many times, where our mission is to help inspire people through running. And for me, that's what I love.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks for all the listeners. And for those who are wondering, we've just done a nice 5-mile loop and we are approaching
Engineers Gate. Whew. Thank you, Michael.
Thank you.
Every mile matters.
You got it.
Perfectly timed.
Nice work, buddy.
You too. Woo. Woo-wee.